Good Shabbos, everybody. Please take your seats. Maybe. Isn't it? It's after 7. It's after 7.
I'll do the thing. I can do the thing where I start singing, and then people will. If you sing it, they will come.
Yeah, it's true. I have food in my teeth. I feel bad about it.
Oh, I didn't even. Everybody's far away now.
This is a special evening, and to transition from our incredibly delicious dinner, can we say thank you to Rabbi Miriam Van Ralt for that amazing meal? I don't even know that she can hear us, but in theory, hopefully she can. That we're thanking you for that beautiful Shabbos dinner. In every way, it was so wonderful. Thank you. And it's a privilege to be together, to welcome back really congregational family who some of us are meeting for the first time, but many of us have known for decades. And it's a very emotional thing. So it's beautiful to be together, and our beautiful cantor is going to usher in our service with a melody. Another welcome, first of all, to everybody who's joining us on our Zoomgregation. We're so happy you're here and wish you a good Shabbos, all of you. People who are watching us virtually, delighted to have you here as part of our community. It's a great privilege. I want to welcome Temple Beth Tikvah's newest members, Stephanie and Bill. So thrilled. We've seen you before, but now it's official, and we're just thrilled to have you to be here and to celebrate this beautiful Shabbos and reunion with us. And our service is going to begin with our candle lighting, and I've invited Elaine and Lior to come up and lead us in the bracha together.
Just one clarification.
Yes, we got it.
Do you want us to say the blessing
Yeah.
and then singing, or you're just going to sing?
I want you to say it, and then we'll sing it.
Thank you. We have disagreement already.
I think machloket is the heart of Jewish life.
And she always wins, but this time I am.
Amen. And that was so good that we don't even need to sing it. We're going to keep going with our service on page 130 with Lechuna Ranana. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Lechuna Ranana Ladonai Nari Aletzur Yishenu Nekadma Fanav Betoda Bizmirot Nari Alo Nekadma Fanav Betoda Bizmirot Nari Alo Shiru Ladonai Shir Hadash Shiru Ladonai Kol Haaretz Shiru Ladonai Baruchu Shemo Basrom Yom Le'yom Yeshuato Sapru V'goyim Kevodo Bechol Ha'amim Niflotav Yai 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 Our service continues on page 134, Zamru Ladonai Bechinor. Zamru Ladonai Bechinor, Bechinor v'kol zimra, b'chatzotzrot v'kol shofar, harihu lifnei hamelech Adonai, Hiram hayam umno, tevel ve'yoshveiva, Einai neharot yimcha v'yachar harim yiraneinu, Lifnei Adonai kiva, Ishmat haaretz, Ishmat tevel betzedek, ve'amim b'mnei sharim, Hiram hayam umlo, tevel ve'yoshveiva, Einai neharot yimcha v'yachar harim yiraneinu, yachad harim yiraneinu. We are on page 136, Mizmor LeDavid, Psalm 29. Mizmor LeDavid, Havu l'Adonai b'nei elim, Havu l'Adonai kavod va'oz, Havu l'Adonai kevod shemo, Ishtachavu l'Adonai behadar kodesh, Kol Adonai al hamayim el hakavod hiri שובר ארזים, וישבר אדוני את ארזי הלבנון, וירקידם כמו עגל לבנון וסיריון, כמו בן רעים. כל אדוני חצר להבות אש, כל אדוני יכיל מדבר, יכיל אדוני מדבר קדש, כל אדוני יחולל אילות, ויחשוף יערות, ובהיכלו כולו אומר כבוד, אומר כבוד, אומר כבוד, כולו אומר כבוד. אדוני למד לא ישב, וישב אדוני מלך לעולם. אדוני עוז ליבו ייתן, אדוני יברך את עמו בשלום.
Page 138, Lecha Dodi.
לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת מקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת מקבלה. שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד, השמיענו אל המיוחד אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד לשם לתפארת ולתהילה. אחד דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת מקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונחכים בקור, הברכה מראש מקדם, ושמחה סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. אחד דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת מקבלה.
Verse 5.
לך דודי. In a second. לקראת כלה. פני שבת, פני שבת, פני שבת מקבלה.
Now verse 5.
התעוררי, התעוררי, כי באורך קומי אורי, אורי אורי, שיר הברי כבוד אדוני, עלייך נגלה. לך דודי, לקראת כלה, פני שבת, פני שבת, פני שבת נקבלה. לא תבושי ולא תקמי, מה תשתוכחי ומה תהמי, בך יחסו עניי עמי בני בנתה. הרעתי לה לך דודי, לקראת כלה, בני שבת, בני שבת, בני שבת נקבלה.
Last verse 9.
בואי ושלום, עטרת
ובצולה תוך אמוני עם סגולה בואי חלה בואי חלה לך אדוני לקראת עלה בני שבת בני שבת נקבל. Well, so fun. 2 melodies, 1 great poem. We are on page 140, Mizmor Shir.
מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמך עליון ולזמר לשמך עליון להגיד בבוקר חסדך ואמונתך בלילות עלי עשור ועלי נבל עלי היגיון בכינור צדיק כתמר יברח כארז בלבנון יזכה שתולים בבית אדוני בחצרות אלוהינו יפריחו עוד ינובון בשיבה דשנים ורעננים יהיו להגיד כי ישר אדוני צורי ולא עוולת בו. Our service continues with the beginning of Ma'ariv on page 144. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah Bi'alma divarak kir'utei v'yamlich malchutei B'chayechon v'yomechon Uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael Ba'agala Uvizman kariv v'meru Amen Yehi shmei Rabbah nevarach Le'alam la'almei almaya Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yithalal shemei dekudashah berichu le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiran bi'alma v'imru Amen. I invite you all to rise for the call to prayer, the Baruch Hu, on page 146. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam va'ed.
I invite you to be seated. Please join me on page 148 at the bottom in English. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tzivaot is your name, ever-living God. May you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening. Baruch atah Adonai, Hama'ariv Aravim.
Amen.
We continue with Ahavat Olam on page 150.
Ahavat Olam, Beit Yisrael, Amcha Ahavta, Amcha Torah u'mitzvot, chukim u'mishpatim, otanu limadeta, otanu limadeta. Akein Adonai Eloheinu b'shafenu u'b'kumeinu nasiach b'chukecha v'nismach b'divrei toratecha u'b'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed ki hem chayenu v'yorech yameinu u'lahem negeh yomam v'layla negeh yomam v'layla ve'ahavatcha al tasir mimenu le'olamim. Baruch atah Adonai ohev amo Yisrael. Amen. I invite you all to turn to page 152. I'm just, there's some beautiful confluences about tonight's event and us being here together and connections that might have been unexpected, and that's all part of the oneness of God in the universe. We're all part of that one, so I invite you to take a deep breath. And as you let it out, see yourself as one part of big universal breathing into the world and acknowledgement of God. And again, we say together, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. We continue on 154 with the Ahavta. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך,
ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אמת. אדוני אלוהיכם, אמת.
Please join me again in English on page 156 at the bottom. All this we hold to be true and trustworthy for us. You alone are our God, and we are Israel, your people. You are our sovereign and Savior, who delivers us from oppressors' hands and saves us from tyrants' fists. You work wonders without number, marvels beyond count. You give us life and steady our footsteps. You performed miracles for us before Pharaoh, signs and wonders in the land of the Egyptians. You led your people Israel out from their midst to freedom for all time. When your children witnessed your dominance, they praised your name in gratitude, and they accepted your sovereignty. Moses, Miriam, and all Israel sang to you together, lifting their voices joyously. Page 158.
מי כמוך בעלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, הלילה מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקע ים לפני משה מרים. זה אלי ענו ואמרו, זה אלינו ואמרו, איי 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 מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקע ים לפני משה מרים. זה אלי ענו ואמרו, זה אלינו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, ונאמר כיבד אדוני את יעקב, וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
Please join us for the evening prayer, the second blessing after the Shema, as we pray for peace and protection. And just to, as we sort of think about, you know, it was always saying the Hashki Venu, you know, the night can be scary, and there are things when you can't see, you wonder about, your own mind wanders. But really right now, in sort of a changing world, I think all of us are sort of mindful that any of us could go anywhere, and maybe something that we didn't expect could happen. And so really when we say this Hashki Venu prayer, it's really asking for a shelter of peace, the wings of God, There but for the grace of God go us, being in the wrong place at the wrong time. And so with our full hearts, we sing together Hashkivenu.
ושמור צאתנו ובואנו לחיים ולשלום מעתה ועד עולם ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך ברוך אתה אדוני הבורא סוכת שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל ועל ירושלים אמן ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם אותי לעולם כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ את הארץ וביום השביעי וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפל.
A thought has blown the marketplace away. There is a song on the wind and joy in the trees. Shabbat arrives in the world, scattering a song in the silence of the night. Eternity utters a day. We turn to page 164 as we prepare to recite the evening Amidah privately, but with this beautiful meditation to set us on our way.
Adonai Svatai Tiftach Ufi Yagid Ufi Yagid Tehilatecha
Please join us on page 180 for Oseh Shalom.
Oseh Shalom, Shalom bimromav, Hu ya'aseh Shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael ve'yimru amen. Oseh Shalom, Shalom bimromav, Hu ya'aseh Shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael ve'yimru amen. Hu ya'aseh Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Amen. Oseh Shalom, Shalom bimromav, Hu ya'aseh Shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Amen.
The mic is on. At this time, as we're getting ready to wind down our service, we want to take a moment and think about all the people in our community and in our lives who are struggling with health issues, emotional issues, loss, addiction, all the things that sort of, make life, but also strengthen us and cause us to ask questions. So I want to invite anybody who is thinking about somebody that they'd like to include in our prayers. We'll go around the room and I'll give you the opportunity to say a name, and also for everybody who's joining us on Zoom. If you have names that you'd like to include in our prayers, please do. On our list in the community, we are thinking of Alan Boyarsky, Andrea Goldberg, Anita Muchnikoff, Barbara Bevins, Barbara Rothbart, Dale Scully, David Trackman, Ed Schechter, Elaine Sokol, Elaine Solomon, Elliot Katz, Evelyn Ma, Florence Nagler, Frankia Yera, Fred Jacobson, Jerry Feldman, Henry Cohen, Janet Capps, Janet White, Jerry Harmon, Karen Guth, Marilyn Gwastoff, Marlene Pfaff, Michael Hennig, Mindy Gladstein, Peter Dernbach, Peter Gwastoff, Rose Kaufman, Sheldon Weisbach, Shirley Zaidman, Sophia Litt, Susan Grossner, Zach Pesner, Barry Pesner. And are there other names of people that we're thinking about? Thank you. Carol Pearlstein. Friends on Zoom.
Kate Shanks, Rosemary Conant, and Marlene Portico.
Thank you. Kenneth Rosenblum. Please join me on page 371 as we send our healing wishes not only to those who we are loving and know, but those who need our prayers so dearly and have no one to pray for them, and those who care for those in need.
Mekor habra שברח אמותינו מקור הברכה לאבותינו. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
Thank you for a beautiful service. And thank you to Andrew on piano and Cantor Gabrielle. Thank you again, Miriam, for a beautiful dinner, truly. Welcome back to some old friends of Temple Beth Tikvah. We're so happy that you are here this evening. And also, again, to our new faces who are certainly enriching our community, and all of you who came here to hear our special guest. Before we sort of conclude our service, I'd like to invite Greg Weitzman up for a few announcements.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shabbat Shalom. Yes, thank you.
I can take it home? Okay. So the big Mahjong tournament is coming up, May 21st at 10:30 a.m. Not only do we have, I think, over 60 experienced players, but we have some new players that are learning that soon will join us in tournaments also. You're invited to join a day of brunch, prizes, and a lot of Mahjong. Please send checks for $45 made payable to the TBT Sisterhood, Judy Nachenberg, come up and get the address if you wanted, or ask the office. Importantly, on May 18th, we're having an open forum budget meeting, which will also be on Zoom. The password is TBT. And our annual congregational meeting and vote is May 24th at 5:30, in person and on Zoom. Again, the password is TBT. Oh.
A very top secret information, and now it's.
I was just kidding.
Haha, we fooled you with our phony passwords. Haha.
Real password is Beth Shalom. Importantly, donations to the Rabbi Chaim Massa Education Fund can be made by dropping off a check in the mailbox. Just be sure to write in the memo section what it's for. On May 19th, there'll be a Shavuot deep dive and a lunch and learn on May 20th, the twin children of the Holocaust. Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you, Greg. So, I invite you to turn to Aleinu, but no, I'm going to. Is it in that book? Yes. What page is it on in this book? Before Aleinu, it's customary during the period between the second night of Passover and Shavuot to count the Omer. And as the sky turns to dark, we are entering a new day. I'll just give you a hint. Today was the 36th day of the Omer. And if you turn to page 570, you can count with me. I'm going to read a little meditation before we say the blessing together. And then we will count the day after 36, if you know what I'm saying. I'm ready to fulfill the mitzvah of counting the Omer, as it is ordained in the Torah. You shall count from the eve of the second day of Pesach, when an Omer of grain is to be brought as an offering, 7 complete weeks. The day after the 7th week of your counting will make 50 days. That's from Leviticus 23. And we say the blessing together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al sefirat ha'omer. Praised are you, Lord our God, ruler of the universe, whose mitzvot add holiness to our lives and who gave us the mitzvah of counting the Omer. And then in Hebrew we say, Hayom Shiva Ushaloshim Yom, Shehem Chamisha Shavuot Ushnei Yamim LaOmer. Today is 7 and 30 days, that they are 5 weeks and 2 days of the Omer. And our service continues with Aleinu on page 586. Please rise. We begin with the second paragraph.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו כחמונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא.
591.
ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו
You may be seated. Did I lose my page? Did Greg take it with? Greg, did you take the paper with you? No?
It's okay, you have mine.
Oh, yours.
You have mine.
Oh.
We share.
No, I was looking for the
What?
your sites.
Oh,
I think that was on the back of Greg's paper. Or
Greg, did you take the paper? Uh-oh.
oh
Thank
my gosh.
you.
So, as we remember those who we have loved and lost, who've passed away either recently in the past year or around this time as an anniversary, I want to invite anybody who is anybody in our room right now in their first 30 days of mourning a loved one? Please say their names. Thank you. Anybody else in the 30-day Shaloshim period? Anybody with us in their first year of mourning? Deborah? Okay, yeah. Do you want to say your mother's name? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Is there anybody, Aiden, who's in their first year of mourning?
Joan Friedman, Jonathan Kazin, and Jerome Citron for first year of mourning, and also Natalie Rubin for the first 30 days of mourning.
Thank you. Yard sites observed at Temple Beth Tikvah this week are for Belle Cohen, Mary Perkins, Deborah McDonald, Louis Reisig, Rita Stromberg, Louis Hirsch, John Weissman, Michael Shabsis, Max Harmatz, Celia Wedner, Daniel Goldman, June Shabsitz, Max Harmatz, and Max Harmatz. Are there other yort sites to acknowledge? Please join me, those of you who are saying Kaddish, on page 598 as we honor the memories of our loved ones together. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah mi'alma divra kirute v'yamlich malchute b'chayechon u'v'yamechon u'v'chaye dechol beit Yisrael ba'agala u'vizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mevarach le'olam u'lalmei almaya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitalev v'yithalal shemei dekudasha barichu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran bi'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. So 2 more things before we take a little break to get some coffee and cake before our special speaker. I'm going to recite Kiddush, and I'd like to invite Rabbi Ben David to join me here as for our closing benediction. Vayhi erev vayhi voker yom hashishi vayechulu hashamayim v'haaretz v'chol tzevam vayechal Elohim bayom hashvi melachto asher asa vayishbot bayom hashvi mikol melachto asher asa Vayevarech Elohim et Yom HaShvi, Vayekadesh oto, Ki vo shavat mikol melachto, Asher bara Elohim lasot, Savri, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Borei peri hagafen.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Asher kiddeshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho b'yahava u'v'ratzon hinchilanu zikaron l'mahaseh v'reishit ki hu yom techila l'mikra'e kodesh zecher l'tziat mitzrayim kivanu v'charta V'otanu kidashta mikohamim v'shabbat kodshecha b'yahava u'ratzon hinchaltanu baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat.
Amen.
Okay, l'chaim. And Rabbi Ben David. I'm going to give you a microphone. Hang on. Thought there was a microphone. Here it is. Oh, you found it.
It's hiding.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר קידשנו במצוותיו וציוונו לברך את עמו ישראל באהבה. Blessed are you, Adonai, our sovereign King of the universe, that sanctified us with his commandments to bless his people of Israel with love. And we love you. I love you guys because I got married here something like 20-some years ago by Rabbi Chaim Massa. So we have a special connection to it. And the blessing is not coming from me or for whomever do this blessing, but actually are flowing through us from the divine. because as it is says in Torah, they will put my name on the people of Israel and I will be blessing them. God is saying that. So the words are not my words. The words of Hashem that is blessing all of you. יברכך אדוני וישמרך יאהר אדוני פניו אליך ויחונקה
כן יהי רצון.
יישא אדוני פניו אליך וישם לך שלום.
כן יהי רצון.
God will bless you and guard you. God will shine his countenance upon you and will be gracious to you. God will lift up his faces towards you and will bestow peace upon you.
And I just need to say, I don't think Cantor Davidson would totally believe what we just heard. That was so beautiful. That was like in the traditional nusach of like for many, many thousands of years. That was quite beautiful. I invite you all to take go grab some coffee and cake, and we'll meet back here in about 5 minutes.
I love the men Sarah spent. They ordered service. Made a big difference.
Testing.
Hello. Hello. Okay. Hello. Time to come back, everybody. No more fun. Get your cookie, get your decaf coffee, get your little muffin. Okay. You'll be able to socialize afterwards also. Oh, Devo Shalom Aleinu. Oh, Devo Shalom Aleinu. Oh, Devo Shalom Aleinu. Ve'al Kulam. Have a seat if you can. Oh, Devo Shalom Aleinu. Oh, Devo Shalom Aleinu. Oh, Devo Shalom Aleinu. Ve'al Kulam. Salam. Aleinu ve'al Kulam. Salam. Shalom. Salam. Come on, everybody. Aleinu ve'al Kulam. Salam. Shalom. Okay. Everybody, I'm counting to 20, and I want everybody in their seats by 20. The dessert will stay out, and you can socialize again after. But here I go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Come on, you out in the lobby. You only have 14 more seconds. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Come back. 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. We have a huge surprise for you. Huge surprise. I'm not kidding. 17, 18, 19. Okay. 19 and a half. My husband had to step in. I guess we could have just said what it was. So here's a question. We're going to start. How many of you in this room have ever played Jewish geography? All the time, right? I mean, literally, as my cousin Sharon says, there are 7 Jews in the world, and it's all done with smoke and mirrors, that we basically all just go from place to place and see each other. But truly, and I can even see it happening with my daughters who are, teenagers, early 20s, and they're in Israel, and every 10 seconds they're meeting somebody that they know through a friend or somebody's, right? That's what Jewish geography is. But, it's really much broader than that. And thinking about how we really are Am Echad and one people, there's a very special confluence right here tonight at Temple Beth Tikvah. And so, of course, our esteemed guest, our speaker, grew up in this congregation. And her family not only is so essential to Jewish life in Orange County, but have sort of spread the Asa sort of wealth all over the world and really shared the Torah given to them, the children, by their parents. And as you know, Temple Beth Tikvah was in a rabbi search this year. And it was sort of a long process. They went through one round of interviews and actually had 2 candidates that they liked very much, and those didn't work out. They went through another round of interviews. And of course, as all of you know, your new rabbi is going to be beginning here in July. And his story is remarkable. I mean, there will be, I can tell you, there ain't nobody in Orange County, rabbis, who really come with his background and sort of his, sort of what he represents in the course of Jewish history is really special. But the thing that's most amazing is that he got his start in the program that Leora runs. And I mean, who could have ever imagined? And so without further ado, we're going to hear from our new rabbi, Mati. I think it's
First of all,
pre-recorded.
good evening, Temple Beth Tikvah family. It's such a pleasure to join you via this recording. I wish I could join you in person, but given that I am in Europe, it would be the middle of the night. But maybe it's good that I am in Europe and sending this message to you from Europe, because what we're dealing with tonight is indeed an organization that is hugely influential when it comes to the revival of European Jewish life. I'm talking, of course, about Paideia, where you have a connection already because our very own Leora, daughter of Elaine and Rabbi Chaim Zichrono Livracha, is active. And the second connection that you now have to Paideia is the fact that I am myself a Paideia graduate, or should I say a fellow. I graduated from their summer program. I'm sure that Leora is going to tell you a bit about what Paideia does, but I can only tell you in a nutshell that there are two main things that Paideia does when it comes to programming. So there is a summer program for Jewish activists from all over Europe who come there and are coached on how to deliver on the projects and great ideas that they have in mind to resuscitate or sometimes just bring the Jewish communities in Europe to new heights and to go from strength to strength. And the other program is a Paideia year-long program where students from all over Europe come to Sweden and for a year study Jewish texts in a pluralistic, very open-minded environment with outstanding scholars from all over the globe. So as I mentioned, I was a member of the summer program cohort, and I must say it was a life-changing experience. I came there with an idea of working in Jewish tourism, of being a person who would bring Jewish tourists to Poland, where I'm originally from, and where I would find tools to show Jews from all across the world to Poland. And guess what? A mere year and a half after my graduation from the Paideia program, I got my job working as a program coordinator who educated Jewish tour guides serving Jewish tours coming to Poland. Then I got a job as a project coordinator of a Polish Ministry of Foreign Affairs sponsored organization that brought Jewish tours, but this time Jewish opinion leaders to Poland. And straight from this job, I went to rabbinical school. So one could say that Paideia put me on a trajectory of getting more and more Jewishly involved, and this resulted in my ultimate choice of a career of a rabbi. And I'm not alone, because let me tell you, who you meet at the be it a summer program or a year-long program, you meet the most committed of European Jewish activists who want to make a difference, Jews and non-Jews alike. So it includes everybody who wants to either deal with Jewish heritage in Europe or Jewish activists who want to build stronger Jewish future in Europe, but it also includes people who want to study Jewish text in a very diverse and open-minded environment. So I can say that myself included, I know, I was counting desperately, I know at least 6 conservative and reform rabbis who graduated from Paideia, who now serve congregations all the way from Germany via the UK to the East Coast, now with my arrival to California soon, also the West Coast. So we have a situation where Paideia inspires people all over the world, and its impact is not just in Jewish Europe, well, where it is definitely the strongest, but also all across the Jewish world. I am very grateful to be a Paideia graduate or a Paideinik. I'll always be a Paideia fellow, as are many of my rabbinical and non-rabbinic friends. And I hope to bring this Paideia spirit to California as well. So the influence and impact of Paideia will be soon felt in your end of the world as well. I wish you all the best and see you soon.
Best introduction Leora could ever have.
Fantastic. This little podium here. Hi. Oh my gosh. It's very exciting. Shabbat Shalom, Temple Beth Tikvah. Wow. I want to, before I start, I just want to say that I won't be here next week. I'll be already back in Israel, maybe in my bomb shelter. But it's will be the yard site of my father, 9 years. And I believe the last time I stood here, hi Ken, was to memorialize my father. And in a way, the topic of tonight is once again very connected. So it's just a real honor to be here tonight and to return home, to be in my home synagogue, a place where I spent, so many of my childhood and teenage, not only years, but Friday nights. As I look around the room tonight, and Zoom probably as well, I don't know, it's just in my room are my mentors, are my friends from high school, are my family, my cousin and my aunt, and my good friends from Har Chalutz as well. My babysitter. Well, you were actually in the mentor department, you know, and just really, it's it'll take me a second here to very beautiful. So thank you for inviting me to first of all to come back home, but also to be up here and to share a bit about what I've been up to. So I do want to say that was beautiful, and I'm so excited that Mati is going to be here, and that we share this kind of roots in Israel. Jewish geography really is quite small, but when we first were thinking about this, we were debating whether the topic was going to be about why are all these Israelis coming out to the streets and protesting week after week, or we could be talking about kind of the renaissance of Jewish life in Europe. And we were going back and forth. In a way, in my heart of hearts, I am so happy that I'm not up here tonight having to talk about what's going on in Israel. A, it's very complicated, and B, it's maybe, especially tonight and this week, a little too close. And I'm thrilled to be speaking about the renaissance of Jewish Europe. Also a topic that's very close to my heart, but easier to talk about tonight. So tonight we will be discussing Jewish identity, specifically European Jewish identity, and its discovery and exploration on the part of thousands of young people, Mati included. So let's talk a little bit about identity and the multiple identities that we all navigate in today's complex reality. For instance, take myself. By nationality, I'm an American. But I've always felt a little bit more comfortable with American Jew as a more accurate description. By nationality, I'm also an Israeli, by act of immigration. By birth, I'm the daughter of my mother, who I'm so happy I get to celebrate Mother's Day with this year, whose roots are from that same area so many of you have roots from, somewhere, everyone always says, that area somewhere between Poland and between Russia and Ukraine, and sometimes it was called this and this. Yeah, many of us. By birth, I'm also the daughter of my father, a Sephardic Bulgarian Jew who survived the Holocaust, saved by the brave acts of a group of Bulgarian parliamentarians, the Bulgarian Orthodox church leaders, and the brave Bulgarian people. And anyone from TBT who doesn't know that story yet, okay, you can read on the walls and we'll tell you about it. By religion, I kind of already said this, I'm Jewish. By marital status, I am the wife of Michael Tazlitz, also a son of TBT, and Arlene, hi if you're on. By family status, I'm the mother of my 3 lovely, objectively speaking, children. By profession, I'm a lecturer, trainer, and consultant to nonprofit organizations in Israel, Europe, and Africa. By the power of experiences that I feel have made their mark on me, I am an alumni of places like Temple Beth Tikvah, Camp Swig, today Newman. Shows what age we are, Harvey, right? Yeah. Of Skifty, of UC Berkeley, of GW University. By residence, I built my home and am a member of Har Chalutz, and a beautiful community that 3 people here tonight are very connected to, Emmanuel and Connie, who were my neighbors, who I've spent probably hundreds of Shabbat dinners with, and Stephanie, my newfound friend, whose son and daughter-in-law and grandchildren live in Har Chalutz. So by residence, my identity is Har Chalutz, this little beautiful community of 150 families overlooking the Galilee in northern Israel. In the audience already, 5 people, I think, came up and said, we were in your living room, and I still remember the sunset, and as we were speaking and we were talking about what it is. By practice, I'm also a Jew, but by practice, I'm a yogi who finds pleasure and peace in the yoga approach. Our identities are defined by so many things. I want you all to think for a moment about your own collection and multi-layered of identities. What is your identity by nationality? What's your identity by ethnicity? What's your identity by religion, by family position, siblings, up, down, I'm the daughter of, I'm the mother of, I'm the grandmother of, the grandfather of. What is your identity by gender, by profession, by association? I don't know if I'm allowed to say by gender, or I should say by gender and non-gender, or Melissa, what's by gender? Identities are the very fabric that makes us who we are. They are as powerful an element in determining who we are as our very DNA, or as our personalities that we were born with, and the multiple experiences we collect along the way. In fact, they are perhaps the prism or the glasses by which we experience the world differently or uniquely from somebody else. Now, what if someone kept one aspect of your identity from you as a secret, a closely guarded secret? Maybe you were adopted and you were never told, not out of malice, God forbid, or you had certain ethnic roots that were not revealed, or you had an older sibling that was kept from you. And what about if the secret that was kept from you was your Jewish identity? What would you feel like when that secret comes out? This is the story of thousands of people across Europe, especially in Eastern Europe, who post-Holocaust and after decades of communism experienced a clear disconnect to Jewish identity, to Jewish practice, to Jewish knowledge, to Jewish literacy. What do you think it would be like to find out that identity, and once you found it out, what would you do with it? Look at it. You say, investigate it. Do I want to investigate it? It's a big burden. Nobody ever told me up until now. Do I want to start this process? What I want to speak with you tonight is a different perspective of European Jewry that I think most of us grew up with, or most of us see in the media and in the movies. A contemporary picture of European Jewish life focused on activists, on individuals discovering they are Jewish at a later age, of people choosing their Judaism, and I put the emphasis on choosing their Judaism, and grappling with what being Jewish means for them, and then integrating that back into their lives. Just a little bit of context, although I think Mati already kind of gave us a promo. Padea Institute, founded in the year 2000, committed for the past 23 years to reviving a European Jewish voice that was long silenced by the Holocaust and then by communism. I have had the absolute pleasure of working there on staff for the past 10 years and feel very lucky to be part of such an exciting mission. They have already over 800 alumni who are Jewish leaders and social innovators. Wait, they have 800 alumni, and now you took away some. They have 800 alumni, but 799 are in Europe. You're going to, Mati's going to come over here. That's okay. We'll give it to him. No, it's actually true that out of the 800 alumni, many are dispersed in America and in Israel and in Europe, and even in South America, who are Jewish leaders and social innovators on Jewish projects in over 40 European countries. Before I go on, actually, I want to do something fun here. Not a brochure, don't worry. I want everybody, maybe somebody can help me pass this out. We'll do it in 3. I made these cards. Thanks, Emmanuel. You can go that way, and thanks, that way. Each card is an alumni of Padea. Each one today is in a leadership position, many in Europe. Some have gone to different areas. In it, you'll see a flag at the bottom. That's the country that they're from, and a short little description. You don't have to study them. I just want everybody to hold it in order to somehow have a personal connection to these amazing people that I've had the honor of really training and mentoring over the years. And I want to talk about some of the trends going on in Europe that impact the Jews of Europe, and then highlight some of the specific alumni within that trend and put it into context. So trend number 1 is disassimilation. Disassimilation. We hear a lot about assimilation, and I want to talk to you about the reverse trend. This is the discovery of Jewish roots and a decision to identify as Jewish in spite of the fact that there is absolutely no social capital in Europe to doing this. Story number 1, zoom in on Rebecca from Stockholm, Sweden. 57 years old, my age, my contemporary. Works as a consultant on European projects. I work as a consultant in Israeli projects, like my parallel reality there. Rebecca was told her entire life that she was Swedish, just Swedish. As a youngster, when she would press, she knew something. She was told that, yeah, all right, Swedish, we have some German heritage, in fact. But her father did not reveal that he was a Jewish refugee who came to Sweden in 1943. Nor did her mother reveal her Jewish ancestry, despite being the great-great-great-granddaughter of one of the first Jewish families to settle in Sweden in the 18th century. Not Jewish, she was told. Not. At a certain point, she pushed and pushed and pushed, and the family secret came out. And Rebecca began her search for knowledge to answer the question of what? What is this thing called Jewish? What is its history? What do the texts say? And what does it mean for me? She began with evening courses and then decided to dedicate a full year to learn in Padea's one-year program for Jewish studies, immersed in a curriculum from classical Bible and Talmud all the way up to modern Jewish philosophy. Full days, 5 days a week, with prominent scholars, ulpan, and a trip to Israel. Through Padea, Rebecca became Jewishly literate. Which is interesting. Sometimes people jump through the literacy and go straight to the spirituality, right? I want to discover my Jewishness. I want to discover spirituality. In Europe, oftentimes, that's not the case. I want to learn the text. I want to understand what this is. So, you know, Rebecca became Jewishly literate because she said, to be a people of the book, I need to know how to read the book. In her own words, Rebecca shared in the graduation ceremony just last month at Padea, and I asked her for permission. This is a quote. "My journey at Padea has been the work of building a bridge to the past, and a connection has begun to heal. A connection has begun to heal. I am slowly becoming someone with a history, and for this I am eternally grateful. I have come to understand more about my own identity. I understand more of who I am, and with more knowledge, I can allow myself to become that person. By shining a light on history, I light up a darkness in myself. I shine a light on myself, and with knowledge, I can insist on my right to be here, just as I am, as a Jew, with all the complexities that entails." Amazing. She just discovered her Judaism, and she already knows the complexities. Yeah, it's pretty good. Take this story and times it by hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of one-year Jewish studies programs and graduates and other programs that Padea has, who have disassimilated by taking back their heritage through study and knowledge and creating literacy through the Jewish texts. Trend number 2, non-Jews owning and engaging in Jewish projects and also trying to regain the Jewish history of their country as an integral part of their national history, not as individuals who are on a path towards conversion. As a non-Jew, I want to regain that integral part that was lost to my culture. It's a bizarre thing. We here would look at that and say, I didn't know. That's not a concept that necessarily I can understand. Under the question of who's responsible, is it to honor the rich history of Jewish heritage in Europe? And the surprising thing is that many non-Jews are leaders in Holocaust studies, in renewing Jewish cultural festivals, in curating Jewish museums, and in taking care of Jewish cemeteries. This is out of a sense of responsibility and also out of a sense of understanding that a part of their own history was erased. A part of their culture was erased, and a part of the richness of the country that they now miss was gone. An example of this, take one. Zoom in, Alexandra, a wonderful non-Jewish woman from Krakow who I met a few years ago and had the absolute pleasure of mentoring in the summer incubator program. Alexandra is the daughter of Janusz Makusz, who established the Jewish Cultural Festival in Krakow in 1988, even before the cracks was, even before the Berlin Wall fell. Today, it's one of the largest Jewish cultural events in Europe, and it attracts people from all over the world to celebrate Jewish culture. Where? In Poland. And why did Alexandra's father found the Jewish festival? And why did Alexandra dedicate 7 years of her young professional life working for the festival? Because they understood that the loss of the Jewish culture in Poland was a Polish national loss as well. And they were committed to bringing back the richness of Jewish culture to Poland. Another example of engagement of non-Jews across Europe in Jewish projects. Zoom in. Sandra, a graduate of Vilnius University in Lithuania, where she earned a master's degree in cultural heritage preservation, not connected to Jewish. But through her studies, Sandra became aware of the horrible condition of the Jewish cemeteries in Vilnius, once a great center of intellectual learning. In almost every town throughout Lithuania, there remains an old Jewish cemetery, often the only intact object of Jewish cultural heritage that recalls the former dynamic Jewish life of that town. But the cemeteries there are abandoned and forgotten. Lithuanians don't understand why they should take care of them. And indeed, I ask, why should they? But Sandra tells us why. She says, quote, "I believe that me and my other non-Jewish Lithuanians must see that our national story includes the Jewish story. And so I have made it my mission to bring local and international volunteers together to clean up and document Lithuanian Jewish cemeteries and build an online database, making the cemetery locations and history available to descendants, to historians, to educators. My vision is for my country," she says, "to realize and appreciate that its rich Jewish history and culture is an integral part of its Lithuanian heritage." And we hear it over and over again. That's trend number 2. Trend number 3, this one we're familiar with, rise in anti-Semitism and new ways of fighting it. The new ways of fighting it there are going to be similar, perhaps, to what we know, but in Europe, some of these things are quite new and quite bold, because to open up your mouth after the Holocaust and say that's anti-Semitism is not always an easy thing, especially when you just only recently acquired your Jewish heritage. So in a report from 2019, 4 of 5 young Jews in Europe believe that anti-Semitism is a problem in their country and believe that it is an increasing problem, meaning the situation is deteriorating. They see anti-Semitism in the media, in political life, on the streets, and especially they say they see it in the social media. Sounds familiar to us. The European Union has made a substantial amount of funding available to fight anti-Semitism. And in many countries, the government recognizes that anti-Semitism is not a Jewish problem. Not that they're denying. They say it's not a Jewish problem. It's our national problem. We must be fighting through our national institutions anti-Semitism, which is something that I think, if we want to look at a little element of optimism, at least in terms of the European reality, we can say that unlike what was happening in the 30s, this is not anti-Semitism that is backed and pushed by the institutions and by the governments. The graduates of Paideia have come up with innovative ways to join the fight against rising anti-Semitism. Zoom in, Benchi from Budapest. Benchi was one of my favorite. I love all the participants. Benchi was really kind of from day one. I was like, wow, a young social activist working for an organization called Haver. I was blown away by him and by his project. They came up with an educational model challenging stereotypes that people have of Jews. In Budapest or in Hungary, maybe you've heard, anti-Semitism really is on the rise. They took Jewish and non-Jewish volunteers. They go out into the high school of the periphery, specifically outside of the big city, outside of Budapest, and they start by putting the Jewish volunteer and the non-Jewish volunteer in front of the classroom. They say, okay, kids, who's Jewish and who's not? Of course, half the kids say, oh, he's Jew and he's not a Jew and he's Jew. From here ensues mayhem and an ongoing discussion about why. Well, why did you think he was the Jew? Why did you think he was the Jew? What aspects? Breaking down the stereotypes, laughing, engaging, allowing them space. The Haver and together with Benchi came up with a multitude of very innovative educational projects where they went out into the field, and always a Jewish and a non-Jewish volunteer in order to be able to make kind of the point, hit the point, hit it home, as they say. Another way that our graduates fight anti-Semitism is through programming that brings Jews and non-Jews together for joint experiences and learning. Zoom in David, a French architect who wanted to transform Jewish heritage sites across Europe into a tool for diversity and for tolerance. David built the most amazing traveling Beit Midrash. Of course, as an architect, he knew how to build the Beit Midrash. So in an hour, it could go into a few suitcases. You go to the next city, up it comes, and the Beit Midrash would travel from city to city. But what's more important is what was going on in his Beit Midrash. He would invite schools in every single city with Jews and non-Jews, and he would have shared space to learn and to discuss and to share differences. He would have migrant groups in his Beit Midrash, and he would have individuals who were from very poor schools and from Muslim society and from Christians. And by this discussion, he was trying to get at the root of the stereotypes. Trend number 4, creating innovative alternative communities where people can feel comfortable exploring Judaism in an open and non-judgmental environment. Many of the centers of Jewish life across Europe were ruined during the Holocaust. That part you know. And then further by decades of communism. Sometimes all that was left was a synagogue. And maybe the joint or a Jewish relief services would come in with a welfare assistance or some other kind of support that they would provide. But many of the communities were stuck in a time zone without real opportunities for innovation, nor the ability to maintain relevance as the needs of the community changed and as young people were looking and saying, okay, what is this thing? And then they went to the synagogue and they said, I'm not sure I want this thing. I'm not sure this really talks to me. They were often these communities were often just existing on past traditions. With the breakup of the Soviet Union, democratization processes in the Eastern Bloc, there were Jewish institutions that came and brought Western-based Jewish education models. Summer camps were formed based on our models. Reform synagogues sprouted up. And JCCs were established. These were all wonderful things that were going on. An entire generation of young people grew up on these models, these new models, immediately after the breakup of communism. And Mati's probably, somewhere kind of mid-generation between that. And the generation that grew up on these are now adults in the communities. Many of them are disenchanted with the established Jewish community in their city and are seeing a trend towards the creation of alternative Jewish communities, separate from the official Jewish community institutions. They are often informal, flexible in boundaries, engaging and more attractive to the younger generation who are looking to explore their Jewish identity as it is connected to their social activism, as it's connected to environmental causes, volunteerism, and Jewish culture. Zumin Livnat, Dutch Jewish educator and activist. She is a birth and death doula. She is a ritualistic and trained mikveh guide and a grief ceremonial guide. Truly a gifted individual. Livnat is the founder of one of these alternative Jewish communities, Oivei. Oivei defines itself, in its own words, an outward-facing, inclusive, and unapologetically Jewish hub in Amsterdam. We aim, they say, to facilitate the creation and expression of contemporary Jewish culture. It is a place where everyone is welcome to participate, learn from, and proudly enjoy all things Jewish. They are on their way to creating a Jewish cafe, co-creation project hub, Jewish art gallery, and all things Jewish shop. Although this kind of, let's say, place, this kind of alternative place rings very normal for the American Jewish reality, that for decades has been open and searching and combining Jewish culture with learning and tradition and alternative community life and alternative synagogues. In European Jewish context, it is still quite new. But our graduates at Paideia are some of the spearheading leaders pushing the envelope into the innovating and making the Jewish community a cool place where young people want to be. There are several other of these hubs, just like Oivei, cropping up all over Europe, and they're really doing the job in terms of attraction to the younger generation and to people who don't feel comfortable necessarily in the synagogue. So, those are stories. Each one of the stories is on the card that you're holding. Each one of the stories is embedded in my heart, and I take them with me. And Paideia really is a European Institute for Jewish Studies. We are dedicated to revival of Jewish life in Europe, and through every summer that I'm there, I honestly have kind of an outer body experience where I feel in a way that and maybe some of you will relate to this, anybody who has roots in Jewish Europe, it could have been me. That's my parallel reality. Like, I could have been one of these Jewish activists who discovered in the year 2000 that I was Jewish. And when I think of my father and being a first generation, that first generation story of, he could have stayed in Bulgaria, and I could have grown up in Burgos, right? And so we're dedicated to the revival of this Jewish life, and it's really something that comes from a very, very, very personal place as well as a professional place. And these alumni are go back home. They're in 40 different countries today in Europe. They start up new Jewish projects. They are teaching in Jewish institutions. They're running the museums. They're establishing Jewish hubs. Over 100 of our graduates from our one-year program in Jewish studies have gone on to complete a master's in Jewish education. Now, we can say in America, okay, 100 Jews with a master's in Jewish. You guys, we have to remember that it was just not even a generation ago, it was 20 years ago. We're talking about Europe was a desert, a barren desert in terms of Jewish knowledge, and specifically in terms of individuals who had degrees, who knew the text, who knew how to teach it. So we're really building a cadre. The Project Incubator, the 10-year boot camp of project management skills and capacity building that I've been a part of for the past 10 years, has already grown 250 projects throughout Europe. People come with a dream, and they get the capacity and the skills to turn that dream into a reality when they go back home. And those projects, those 250 projects that they've developed when they go back home, have reached 350,000 individuals, Jews and non-Jews, back in their home country, all having a big impact, both in terms of anti-Semitism and in terms of connecting people and rebuilding culture, Jewish culture. Our graduates have gone on to become rabbis. I believe the last count was in 13 synagogues throughout Europe. I have to say, when Mati comes, it'll be 12 synagogues throughout Europe. But it's okay. We'll give it to you. We'll give them. I think it's a good match. And 11 of our graduates are in senior positions in Jewish museums, leading some of the most prominent interactive educational programs. If anyone's been to the museum called Polin, which is not a Holocaust museum, it is a museum of Jewish life in Poland. And we have 7 of our graduates working in the Polin Museum. So we're close to a minion, as they say, just in one museum. Israel, okay, so that is Padea. I want to just close it out by bringing it back and kind of saying this. In my opinion, my home, you might have already gathered, is the Galilee in Israel. I believe Israel is a miracle of our modern Jewish history. So is the discovery and return home of the Ethiopian Jewish community, a community of up to 170,000 living and exciting Ethiopian Jews in Israel. I want to bring to us tonight, and I want you to spread the word, another miracle. And it's the miracle of modern Jewish history. The many people in Europe who have made a choice to claim their Jewish identity, not at all obvious. In fact, I would say it's a miracle. It's beyond. If you want to take the spiritual, I can only take the spiritual approach on this one and say it must be something because it's beyond logic that so many people are coming and in a reality that's not necessarily beneficial. They're choosing this. Being a part of Padea, this wonderful organization, for me has been inspirational. Watching the network grow and the alumni move into positions of leadership in their respective communities has been one of my professional pleasures and personal pleasures over the last decade. And I want to invite anybody who is planning a trip to Europe, because oftentimes the trips that are planned are wonderful and they're beautiful and they'll take you to heritage sites and they'll take you to history and they'll take you to museums. But oftentimes what they won't be able to, either because of time or because of they don't have the connections, is to be able to meet with these Jewish innovators. And that's what I would like to invite you, that if you're going to take a trip, please be in touch with me. Open the map. Tell me any city in Europe, and I will connect you to one of our alumni to be able to tell you a little bit about their project and about what they're doing. I have a mailing list if anyone wants to be on a newsletter. I'm here for Q&A, for questions and answers, or just to talk about old times. I am so emotional to be here. It is really, really I'm scanning. I remember Michael, my husband, when we were married, we weren't married here because there wasn't enough room. but otherwise we would have been here. But our spirit was here, of course. And I remember him saying under the chuppah, he looked at me and goes, take a second, just look, pan it and take it in, because it'll be all gone. So I'm just going to take Michael's advice, and I'm going to just pan it in, and again, say thank you so much. Yeah, come and visit and see a different side of Europe. Shabbat Shalom.
For a zillion reasons, that was so inspiring, and I'm so honored to meet you now. We should have been friends all of our lives, but we didn't know each other. So, first of all, Scott and I were looking at each other like, we cannot wait to go there. And I was going to ask you things like, could I ever teach there and volunteer my time? But that's for a later question. But my first question is, and then I want you to all think of your questions, is who started it, and where did the funding come from, and how much do these students have to pay to go?
Amazing.
And where's that?
Amazing. Okay, so I'm so glad. It's like I didn't have a wonderful, amazing woman, Barbara Lerner Spector, a Jewish educator who was at the Hartman Institute. And by the way, oftentimes Padea is compared to, and people say, oh, when I explain, they say, why don't you just say the Hartman of Europe? And so I said, can I? And I said, sure, that's a good way for us to connect to. So kind of like the Hartman of Europe. Barbara was at Hartman, and she was a Jewish educator, and her husband, who was the head of the conservative movement in Israel, had retired, and the great synagogue of Sweden, in Stockholm, said, you know what, we want you to be our rabbi. We have a space, we want you to be our rabbi. So they went to Stockholm, and Barbara was twiddling her thumbs, said, well, what am I going to do? Oddly enough, kind of in parallel, almost at the same time, the leader of Sweden was looking for a way to, in some way, give something back to the Jews, or to commemorate, or to find a place where Sweden can say something about what happened during World War II. Now, Sweden did not send people off to the camps. Sweden was not allied, but Sweden had a lot of business connections with Nazi Germany, and the Swedish prime minister at that time was looking for a way to say, what do I do? He meets Barbara, who's in Sweden, and they come up and said, okay, what are we going to do? Well, we're going to create a place. He says, I want to do something to bring back Jewish culture in Europe. And the seeds were already planted back then. And so Barbara really was the visionary behind this, and the dreamer, and the implementer, and she is still involved. I was with Barbara all week. Had the pleasure of being with her in Los Angeles this week, where we talked to a lot of people about Padea. So she's now the founding director and emeritus, let's say. Okay, so the original founding, obviously, because the prime minister at that time, premier of Sweden, was interested, the original money came from the Swedish government. Today, I'm happy to say that the European Union, who has been, you guys, the European Union in terms of Israel is one thing. The European Union in terms of its relationship to Jewish communities in Europe is fantastic. Out of this world. Fantastic. You disagree? You disagree, or are you saying yeah? Oh, yeah, yeah. So yeah, it's a surprise. It's fantastic. Okay.
So another connection. Barbara's brother-in-law was my rabbi back in Detroit. Efrey Spector, may he rest in peace.
Oh my gosh.
But Barbara's husband is Phil.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, Phil
Oh
Spector.
my-
Not Phil Spector.
No.
I know. See,
Yes.
7 Jews, smoke and mirrors. You heard
Oh
it from
my
me.
gosh.
Okay. Now, other questions. Come on, give it to me. Bring it up. Yes.
So many parallels and examples that you gave that would be applicable to the U.S. Have you ever thought of bringing this program to the U.S.?
Great question. So, the New York Federation, in fact, asked that exact question about 10 years ago, and as a result, one of the projects I didn't highlight perhaps enough, and I like to call it the what, how, why. The what project you already heard about was the one-year program. And the one-year program is what? What is this Jewish text? What's it all about? The how, my project that I'm on, is the incubator. The incubator is how? Give me tools. Give me tools to go back to my community and do these projects. And the why question is, why are we doing this? The philosophical questions of, why am I Jewish? Why did I choose Judaism? And that project is a project that engages Americans, Europeans, and Israelis to come together for a thought community, a very high-level thought community. So we've kind of already brought that project, meaning we haven't brought all of Paideia to America, but we Americans are coming to Paideia. So yes, it's a great question. You're gonna be on our board because you already had foresight.
And how do Americans find out about it? Like who knows about it?
So that's a secret, just like the secret you gave out about the password.
Temple Beth Shalom.
So I don't know if I can give the password, but look, I'm here telling you. I'm telling people that they can apply for the one-year program. They can apply for the incubator. They can apply also for what's called the paradigm. The one I was talking about the why is called the paradigm program. Paideia Paradigm every year, kind of has a new cohort of people. The other programs are also advertised. So through the newsletter, I have a little thing people can sign up, and in the newsletter it's already advertised. I will say that we are very cautious not to do mission drift, meaning this is a very attractive thing. Why don't we bring it all to America? Why don't we? Because there's more Jews here. But we are very cautious in saying, if you want to come, you come to Europe, and you're going to do it in a European way. It's going to be with a softer voice. When I do my incubator, I have to put on my European voice. I have to talk, not my Israeli voice, and not my American voice, my European voice. So it's
and for any of us who have actually visited, devastated Europe, void of any Jewish content, like the thought. I remember thinking, like, when I was visiting there in the early 2000s, what if all these Jews came and moved back and lived in these neighborhoods and started business? Like, that was my dream. Yep. I thought that might be really a nice thing, except that I kept hearing, well, anti-Semitism is still rampant in Europe. And so it's just a complicated question, but more to talk. More questions for Leora. Yes, hang on, Daphne, let me bring you the microphone.
Great. Excellent.
It's like, I want to understand how does it work.
Great question. So how do I, go ahead, ask, I want to hear your voice. I want to hear your voice. Go ahead, say it.
Okay. It's not such an important question. I just want to understand how does it work. Like if you're in Hachalutz, how do you work in Europe?
Great. So I'm part of the staff of the incubator program, which is every summer a 10-day boot camp for project management. So I get on a plane and I fly, and I'm in Sweden for 2 weeks, and usually maybe 10 days of the incubator and usually 4 days of a yoga workshop. But the rest of my work that I do for Paideia in terms of outreach and program development, I do in the comforts of my second floor in Har Chalutz with that beautiful view on the computer with Zooms and this. I'm going next week. I go back to Israel, get on a plane, and then 2 weeks later I get on a plane. I go to Vilnius. Vilnius is going to be our alumni conference. Every year we have an alumni, so we bring all these people back together to be able to exchange information, to build the network, to make sure that people feel part of a community. And so lots of planes back home, Zooms. It's a new world, as they say.
Leora, if, let's just say one wanted to make a financial contribution, is that acceptable? And how would we do it?
That's so beautiful that you ask. That's so nice. Yes, we would be happy. We have a U.S. Friends of Paideia set up on our website. I have some brochures, so on our website there's a little opportunity to go in, Visa, PayPal, or a check, or you can be in touch with me, but nobody should feel pressured in any way. You can just sign up for the newsletter because you want to learn more about Jewish thing. That's very, very kind. I was not meant to make a pitch. I just want to spread the word because I care so deeply about it. But thank you.
I was wondering the same thing. Yes, hang on, Melissa.
Since you're home and we're invested in you, and now we're getting invested in Padea, will you tell us how they were lucky enough to find you and you got involved?
I was lucky to find them. How it happened is that I have two wonderful colleagues who are always watching my back. One is named Nirit and one Patrick, and they were already trainers in the one-year incubator, and they were both kind of my mentors in a previous organization. And they kind of the next summer they said, we need another trainer, come on board, and I just feel the luckiest charm in the world. And yeah, that's how it happened.
May I connect what you are talking to the parasha of the week?
Oh, thank you. It is exactly. It is the European Institute for Jewish Studies, so we need to have a text context.
So, okay, in Parashat Bechukotai, which is the second parasha of this week, we are connected. A short part of it is blessing, but the major part of the parasha is curses about what would happen if we do not follow the covenant. And the tradition is that when we chant that part, we chant it very softly, almost whispering it. In this part, there is, I'll take out one short sentence. I'll say it in Hebrew and then translate it. וכשלו איש באחיו ואין רודף. Which means, and the translation says, and they stumbled into each other, even though there was no one pursuing them. It's a good translation, but not good enough. The way our sages look at it, from this very verse, they coined what we say, כל ישראל ערבים זה בזה. All Israel are collateral, responsible, involved with each other. Because the word, the way it is, כשלו זה בזה, means they failed because of one another. Each and every one of those Jews at the time were minding their own business, did not care about any others, and they failed the others. The others were failing even at no fault of their own, but because selfishness and non-involvement of the others. So in order to avoid it, we are all responsible to each other. Arevim is collateral, is responsible, but also mixed with each other. So we are one people with capital P. Whether we are here or in Europe or in Israel or anywhere else, we are one people and we are responsible to each other. And what you are doing is phenomenal and fantastic. And I wanted just to add this part that we all feel the same enthusiasm as you are.
Amazing. Beautiful. Amazing. Yeshua.
So I would say there's probably more to say. You're not going to run out of here.
No,
and so if you
I'm
have
here.
more questions, please stay and talk to Leora. I thank you so much. Thank you to Miriam and Elaine and Sue for all bringing this together. And Shabbat Shalom. May we gather many times to do
Yeah.
beautiful learning.
You
Thank
can
you.
take the cards home if anyone likes, and if anyone wants I have a brochure here if anyone wants the cards, I'll take them on to the next one. And if anyone wants, that's my colleague. There you go. Thank you so much.